2XKO Shutdown, yeah, in a sense. I don't have too much to add to the conversation. Obviously, Sajam's been given the eulogy and the lay of the land. I've already gotten my journalistic takes out on 2XKO in the past, and since then, I felt more exhausted by the ongoings and energized, so I haven't thought too much about it or looked too much into it. The writing was on the wall. Indeed. It was very clear from the onset that this game failed to launch and had a really, poor foundation to build upon to meet expectations of a developer like Riot and to sustain itself on a free-to-play style, release and monetization strategy, where you're going to need tons and tons and tons of players to have a small percentage of them to actually become whales to buy the cosmetics to support it. So it was doomed from the get-go. There was a lot of issues getting this game to go and get out the door. The launch was very underwhelming. It felt like it never launched, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned here, and I feel like a big part of this is that fighting games cannot go through that whole free-to-play cycle of not getting a complete product out. Fighting games are too niche, too difficult, too hard, too intimidating to launch in that way. To have soft launch after soft launch and to continue to iterate on just the multiplayer experience alone, I don't think fighting games are really built for that. That's not to say it's impossible. I think there's a lot of other issues besides that with 2XKO, a lot of issues, but I think that was a big part of it. Marketing as well, 2XKO. Yeah, they announced it, man. It went out. They said that this is going to be the end of the road for 2XKO. The final patch is going to go live in October. Servers are going to stay online, and that in-game purchases maybe for August 20th will be refunded. So they're literally refunding all of the purchases made. So what did I buy? I bought something expensive from 2XKO. I'll get a refund, I suppose. We'll look out for that. But there's a whole character that's not even out yet. And then they're going to be putting some final cosmetic bundle out for sale. And it's going to be online still, so you'll be able to play the game. Or actually, there's two characters not even out. Jesus, I don't even know what's going on, which is nuts. So you'll be able to play the game. It'll be around. I wonder if the player base will support it, right? I mean, I made my whole tweet about it, how the great free-to-play 2XKO experiment comes to an end, and that my main takeaway about it, like, if you want my take, I just think 2XKO lacked it at the end of the day. No matter how many ways you try to chop this up and analyze it, I just think 2XKO lacked it. And, if you want to play the game, I feel bad for people who actually enjoyed this game and they want it to thrive and survive, but we have plenty of niche Discord fighters out there that still have thriving communities and make it happen. It's not impossible for this game, since it will be accessible for a long time. So didn't you predict it to be shut down by the end of the year? I think that was my call out. So basically, I put out the hour-long retrospective on 2XKO 6 months ago when they laid off half the staff, and I gave the full spiel from beginning to end of the entire history. So 2XKO, what went wrong with Riot's League of Legends fighting game? That's on the More Brian F channel. If you want to actually see like the full experience and get the lay of the land, like, this is the place to go. I lay everything out, man. Like, it's all there. So there's tons of context, tons of history here. And in the past 6 months, I don't think anything has changed, really. It was just the end of the road. So if you want my take, the writing was already on the wall and nothing has changed from 6 months ago until now. It's just more of the same. So I already gave all I had to give in this video. It's just, it felt inevitable. It felt like there was no way that this was going to be sustainable. So yeah, it's bound to happen eventually. I felt like so many issues along the way, but I think at the end of the day, I don't know if free-to-play is impossible for fighting games, but I just feel like this game had so many issues with the presentation. When you boot up Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, when you boot up Marvel Tokon, when you boot up so many other games, boom, dude, you're hit with the presentation of the game, what I mean by that is everything from the menus to the animations, the character models, the visual clarity, the sound design. Sound design is a huge one. I think sound design is so underappreciated in fighting games. All of that was lackluster, I feel, in 2XKO. All of that was lackluster. Everything about it was lackluster in that sense. There was no power fantasy in this game. There was no power fantasy in this game. Everything just sounded bad. And it was a lot of jank to deal with. And it wasn't even fun jank. Whereas with Avatar has so much fucking jank. I mean, Ozai is literally a sliding PNG on the screen. But at the end of the day, Avatar has it, dude. Avatar has jank that makes you fucking laugh and have fun with the game. 2XKO's jank felt grating. So I don't know what to really chalk that up to. There's something intangible about it all. But if you're going to be like a jank kind of unfinished game, you got to have something special to it. And I think Avatar has it, and 2XKO needed that polish and sheen. Because holy shit, the power fantasy of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, as time goes on, I appreciate the game so much more. I didn't think it would be that hard to recreate that. But it feels like video games have kind of forgotten the art of making something feel cool. Marvel 3 just feels cool out of the gate for forever. Any normal motherfucker who's never played a fighting game before can get that instantaneously. And you don't get that with 2XKO. You really don't get that with 2XKO. So I just feel like there's something just at a more intangible, almost artistic game feel level, beyond mechanics, beyond anything else, that 2XKO just never had to get people into it. Do you feel that with Street Fighter 6? Street Fighter in general has always had a really great presentation. One thing about Street Fighter for a long time that I've really grown to appreciate playing other games is sound design. 2XKO's sound design was so bad. It was so bad. I hated listening to 2XKO when playing it. And then they added that grating meter build sound, and that honestly made me want to turn the game off. I booted up the game after an update, and it would go whenever someone built a bar, and there's 4 characters building meter, and I was like, what are you doing? Whereas when you listen to a game like Street Fighter 4, 5, 6, they have an incredible on block and on hit sound effects and custom sound effects per different attacks to make things feel impactful. It's so easy to hear the difference between a block and a hit in Street Fighter 6. So I think the sound design was another thing that makes things it's so understated how much that matters for the feel of a game. So that was just one of the many things where I felt like this game, when you're playing it, when you're watching it, people's eyes just glaze over. It was also just really hard to get people interested into it. So even though people talk about like active tag, this, that, tag games being unappealing and difficult to get into, I just don't think people found this game appealing. I just think it lacked appeal. Because I did content for this game, SageM talked about it as well, doing content for this game. This game got the least amount of interest of any fighting game I've ever done content for. Any. DNF Duel was a fucking blockbuster hit compared to this game, which was very surprising. But DNF Duel is gorgeous. Like, DNF Duel is a gorgeous game and presented well. It has a banger soundtrack. The problems with DNF Duel were the long-term prospects for its gameplay. This game, it was just, I don't know, man, the vibe wasn't there. It's a cool game. Like, I liked watching the high-level gameplay. I got into it once my eyes were opened and understood it. Some of the character designs were pretty cool. Just something about it just wasn't clicking. I don't think the marketing mattered as much as people make it out to be. I think it did matter. I think 2XKO is a horrible name. I think they should have stuck with League of Legends. I just think at the end of the day, it failed on 2 fronts. It failed on the marketing front, of course, which prevented people who were fans of the IP from getting into the game or even knowing about its existence. But it had horrible retention for people who did know it existed because they went with the grassroots FGC approach to try to appeal to that market, and that's what they did. But at the end of the day, they couldn't retain those players. Those players weren't interested in it. They advertised to you guys, to me, and it just didn't retain people. It just wasn't engaging enough. So I don't think it mattered. I just feel like the game, just something about the presentation of it just wasn't appealing to people to the degree it needed to be. It found its audience. Don't get me wrong. It found its audience. There's people who play it and love it. And I feel sorry for them. I don't know why this was a tag fight in the first place. I do think it would be much easier to achieve success with a 1v1 fighter to clear up visual fidelity and clarity on screen and work on a style that is very easy to comprehend. I absolutely do think that. Not that tag fighter gameplay is bad, but I just think it's harder to make a good tag fighter. That's what I think. I think it's a harder task. And for Riot's first fighting game, maybe it would have been easier for them to make a 1v1. I think making a tag fighter is always harder. It's much more difficult to make things readable. There's a lot more gameplay issues that come up. There's just so many more problems that it creates. It adds so much complexity. Yeah, it sucks. I don't know. I was hoping to get supported for longer, but Riot was pretty clear that they're going to try to cut their losses quick, because Riot did not promote it at all. So the lack of promotion to me spoke to Riot being like, we don't believe in this. I don't really have anything insightful to say, guys. I really don't. I already got it all out of my system. Once again, if you haven't seen already, this video I put out 6 months ago, I go in depth in the history of the expectations for this fighting game, the origins of it, Rising Thunder being and the dev team being bought out and all that. I go really in depth in this video. So if you want to get a more contextual history of it, it doesn't include the last 6 months, but nothing really changed. They laid off half the team, then 6 months later they said we're going to quit after a year. Nothing really changed. So I go really in depth in this lecture, essentially. So I got nothing really to add. I think a lot of people are reeling from this because we want it to XKO to succeed. I want it to XKO to succeed. Some people feel it looks bad for the genre. A little bit of a downtime. And I mean, it's a bummer back-to-back having Tokon be literally unplayable due to Sony DRM garbage on PC. So they've completely butchered capturing that audience and kind of scammed the consumer over there. And then 2XKO going down, it's a little bit of a bummer right now. I also feel like my only takeaway from this is I feel like in general, the gaming as a whole is having its bubble burst moment is the general vibe I am getting, and I feel like we're on the verge of seeing GTA 6 being unable to meet its expectations as well. I get the vibe that things have become too bloated, too top-heavy, budgets increasing way too high, fidelity way too high, and that we're on the verge of a reset. Like, there is no way 2XKO is going to capture a free-to-play audience large enough to sustain it. And then the only hope in the middle of all this, of a return to normalcy and sustainability, is something like Avatar Legends. That's literally how I feel. The only like ray of sunshine right now. I mean, I like Tokon, of course. Don't get me wrong. If Tokon just didn't butcher the PC release, it would be like, holy shit, the first successful release in a while. But Tokon really dropped the ball fucking hard there. And then Avatar, you know, had a horrible release as well, but relatively, it set its expectations by being a budget fighter, and you kind of know what you're getting into it, and it's the humble indie fighter, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what you're getting into. So that's the one kind of ray of hope I have, is I hope that, you know, they get the Xbox release out and smooth that over, and it's like, hey, like, this is a mild success with, you know, minimal investment. Hopefully, 2XKO fans bounce back. Rooting for you. I think if you like the game, you can still organize around it, man. It's going to be tough times ahead, but it's possible. That's what I would say, if you're a fan of the game. Back to grassroots organizing for the esports title, huh?